Welcome to some new IDoWorkHereLady Reddit stories. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called More Flexible. I was working at Blockbuster as an assistant manager while I was going to school. I would go to classes during the day and work the closing shift. I don't know if it was a company or district policy, but they wanted the manager and assistant managers to work a variety of shifts, with each one working at least one opening and one closing shift per week. I had no problem with that, but let the manager know that because of my class schedule I would only be able to open on the weekend. He was fine with that, because no one really wants to open on the weekend anyway. I had been there for about 6 months when we had a manager change. I explained to the new manager about my school schedule and the arrangement with the previous manager. The new manager didn't like that arrangement and wanted his assistant managers to have more flexibility. I told her I understood, but I wasn't going to give up school for this job and gave my 2-week notice. I rarely saw the new manager because she opened on the days that I closed. I worked my normal schedule for the next 2 weeks. A few days before my last day, I looked at the next week's schedule and I was scheduled for my normal schedule. I enjoyed the job. I got paid a little over minimum wage to talk to people about movies and it fit my school schedule. The only reason I was leaving was that the new manager wanted me to be more flexible. I thought that maybe the new manager had changed her mind and was willing to be more flexible. Since I had given my notice, I could have left my uniform on the manager's desk and dropped my key in the return box after locking up the store. But since I enjoyed the job and the schedule I was scheduled fit my schedule, I decided to continue working. The next week I was still on the schedule. I kept working and I kept getting paid. This happened for about 6 weeks. Then I went in to open the store on a Sunday, after being off the previous day. I opened the door and went to turn off the alarm. The alarm said I entered the incorrect code, so I entered it again, same result. After the third attempt, the alarm started going off and the police were automatically dispatched. I went out front to get away from the warning sirens and to wait for the police to arrive. When the police arrived, I explained the situation and showed them my lanyard and showed them that I had the key to the store. I told the officer, I do work here. The officer wanted to talk to the manager, but since I had only met her one time, I didn't have her number with me. I explained to the officer where the schedule book was and that it had everyone's number in it. She went in and got the book and called the store manager. I could tell the officer was looking concerned as she was talking to the manager. After she got off the phone, she asked me if I wanted to change my story. I said no, I was just there on my normal shift to open the store. The officer told me that the manager was on her way down, but informed the officer that I used to work there, but quit about 6 weeks ago. I nervously laughed and explained the ordeal to the officer. I could tell she didn't believe me, until I suggested she look at the schedule. She even commented that I was scheduled for 4 days the upcoming week. The manager finally arrived and talked to the officer. While they were talking, I took off my polo shirt and handed it to the manager, along with my lanyard and the keys to the store. The manager then looked flabbergasted and asked me who was going to close the store next week. The officer and I looked even more flabbergasted, looked at each other and I replied, "Not me, I don't work here, lady." The next story is called The Interview. A couple of years back, I managed a manufacturing facility. It's a small business with a handful of employees. We are hiring and I set up appointments on Indeed. It literally said you will be interviewed by me. The person I'm scheduled to interview shows up and I take him into my office, which has a big glass window looking into the shipping room. I'm trying to interview this guy. I think he was about 24 and he keeps looking over my shoulder out the window into shipping. I'm like, "Is everything okay?" And he goes, "When is the interview starting?" "I am interviewing you right now." And he goes, "Who's that?" and points to my very young looking early 20s shipping guy. I respond, "That's Chris." "Well, isn't he going to interview me?" "Once again, I'm interviewing you right now." Followed by, "Thanks for coming in, we'll let you know." On his way out, he walks over to Chris and asks him something. After he left, I asked Chris, "What did he ask you?" He wanted to know why he wasn't being interviewed by him. The third story is called Get the Digits. I graduated college early and started teaching high school when I had just turned 21. On the first day, as we were instructed to do, I was standing in my classroom doorway helping monitor the halls between classes. A 19-year-old senior spotted me leaning against my doorframe and made his way over to me, full swagger, charm mode fully engaged. His winning line was, "Hey girl, let me get your digits." I said, "Sure, 34. He looked confused and said, 34? I said, "Yeah," and pointed to my classroom's room number. "I'm the music teacher. That's my classroom, room 34. Go to class before I mark you tardy." It was an epic jaw-dropper. The other students around busted out laughing and made a scene only high schoolers can about the sick burn. Needless to say, word spread fast. Don't mess with the new music teacher. She's got jokes. The next story is called Are You Certain? This dates back to the early 2000s. In the UK, the most common way to plan your train journeys before the local franchises had decent websites was to phone up a service called National Rail Inquiries. They would provide you with all the details you needed, at least in theory. My now ex needed to travel to London on a Saturday. Being a nervous traveler, she phoned up asking for a route with no changes and no replacement bus service, which is often laid on at the weekends to cover sections taken out of use for engineering works. As she hung up, I looked at the details she noted and immediately spotted something that looked wrong. So I picked up the phone, hit redial, and by a lucky chance I got the same guy and confirmed the journey details with him. And there are no engineering works on that line? No, there are not. Can you just double check that for me? He's starting to sound slightly irritated. Okay sir, there are no engineering works on that line on that date. You are absolutely sure about that? He, slightly more irritated now. Yes sir. You are certain? Him, now clearly getting annoyed. Yes, sir. That's interesting. He made an exasperated sigh and tone dripping with condescension. Oh, and why is that, sir? Because I'm the technical officer supervising ripping out and replacing 200 meters of rail on that line between Station A and Station B. So I'd be very interested in hearing how you intend to get your trains into my work site and what you plan on running them on when they get there. There was a pause that went on for a few seconds too long. Then, as if the entire preceding conversation hadn't happened, he said, "Due to engineering works, a replacement bus service will be operating between." At which point I interrupted him with my own exasperated sigh. "Yes, I know. I just basically told you that. Now I'm going to hand you back to my partner. This time, can you please give her the information she's asking for?" The last story is called I Am the Teacher. I've started my master's program and they have given me a couple of higher level courses to teach while I continue to study. I am only 22 and I certainly look my age. So today I walk into my first lab of the semester. In the front row I notice a handful of peers from my undergrad a few months ago. They see me and say, "No way, it's you. Even you had to retake this class?" They had a bit of smugness at the thought of finding themselves in the same boat as me. With the smuggest look I know has ever had the chance to grace my face, I reply, "Nope, I am the teacher." They are stunned. I am laughing. I told them not to worry, because they shouldn't fail this time. On another occasion, some students had wandered into my lab room seeking a place to study while I was taking a break in between classes. We ended up chatting for a bit and having some laughs. I suggested we get to studying, because the class comes in soon. They say, "Are you sure the teacher won't mind us being in here?" I am the teacher, so no, it's no problem. Their attitude went from casual to uptight immediately. Once again, they are stunned, and I am laughing. I am starting to love the element of surprise. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.